recipe book. And what's more, baby, I can cook.
Tonight on Emerald City from Reno Sweeney, it's standing room only with Barbara Cook. Also this evening, Dory Hanaway talks with illustrators Richard Amsel and David Byrd.
Good evening. As many of you may know, it was on this program that we conducted the first interview ever done in this country with Quentin Crisp, author and subject of The Naked Civil Servant. The Naked Civil Servant is Mr. Crisp's autobiography and was an award-winning Thames television special the season before last. Quentin Crisp will return to this program 1 week from tonight, at which time I promise not to ask him anything as probing or in-depth as what was it like to be a flamboyant homosexual in England during the 30s. On last week's program, we featured a short clip of Selma Hazori appearing at Scene 1 here in Greenwich Village. She'll be appearing there again on Friday and Saturday, November 10th and 11th. I gave you the wrong dates last week. On tonight's program, we welcome back the most glorious voice in cabaret today. Now appearing at Reno Sweeney through November 5th, Barbara Cook. It's impossible to convey to you through that little speaker on your television set what Barbara really sounds like in person. So if you get the chance, she's really worth the price of admission. Also this evening, Dory Hanaway will be talking to illustrators Richard Amsel and David Byrd. Dealing mostly with theatrical properties, both Richard and David are among the top illustrators in the country today. Some of David's work includes both the posters and album covers for Godspell, Follies, The Magic Show, Jesus Christ Superstar, the film Day of the Locust. The list goes on and on. One of his most recent works was that Battlestar Galactica illustration on the cover of TV Guide last month. Richard Amsel's credits are also a mile long. He started with the design for the movie version of Hello, Dolly, and went on to do the posters for such movies as The Sting, McCabe and Mrs. Miller, Murder on the Orient Express, The Late Show, Lucky Lady. He's done most of Midler's album covers and numerous TV Guide covers. He has one out either this week or next with John Travolta on the cover. His most recent film poster is for Death on the Nile. Well, it's quite obvious that these two fellows are really small time, and Dory Hanaway will be bringing out the absolute worst in them in just a few minutes. Speaking of Death on the Nile, Emerald City may be doing just that as it goes to Egypt later this month. Seriously, we are going. According to After Dark, Egypt is very in these days. We're actually going to buy some tanna leaves with hopes of reviving this show a little bit. Right now, I'd like to show you Barbara Cook singing New York State of Mind. Again, I don't know to what extent you can hear it on your set, but Barbara Cook's voice has an equivalent range with that of Barbra Streisand, so see for yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, Barbara Cook.
Thank you. I want to dedicate this number to the New York Yankees. Yeah! By God, we showed them, didn't we? Thank you. Some folks like to get away, take a holiday from the neighborhood, hop a flight to Miami Beach or to Hollywood. But I'm taking a Greyhound on the Hudson River line. I'm in a New York state of mind. but I know what I'm needing, and I don't want to waste more time. I'm in a New York state of mind. It was so easy living day by day, out of touch with the rhythm and blues. But now I need a little give and take. The New York Times, the Daily News, comes down to reality, and that's fine with me, 'cause I've let it slide. Don't care if it's Chinatown or the Riverside. I don't have any reason. I've left them all behind. I'm in a New York state of mind. It was so easy living day by day, out of touch with the rhythm and blues. But now I need a little give and take. The New York Times, the Daily News, comes down to reality, and that's fine with me, 'cause I've let it slide. Don't care if it's Chinatown or the Riverside. I don't have any reason. I've left them all behind. I'm in a New York state of mind, and I'm taking a Greyhound on the Hudson River line. I'm in a New York state of mind. I'm in a New York state of mind.
She's the best. Again, Barbara Cook will be appearing at Reno's through November 5th, and we'll show you another number from her act a little later in this evening's program. We'll pause for this commercial message and continue from the Emerald City with Richard Amsel, David Byrd, and our diva in residence, Dory Hanaway. After this, don't go away.
Hi, I'm Arthur Bell, and this is my office. It stinks. This is my new book. It's called Kings Don't Mean a Thing. It's a story about a newspaper heir and a hustler, both murdered, and a reporter. Guess who's a reporter? Kings Don't Mean a Thing, the John Knight murder case, and it's terrific.
Kings Don't Mean a Thing. It's as if Truman Capote had put himself into In Cold Blood.
Tonight, Emerald City spotlights two illustrators whose work needs no introduction. To movie and theater goers and to record buyers, the work of Richard Amsel and David Byrd has been seen by millions of people. Richard Amsel has created posters for every major film studio, the most recent being Death on the Nile for Paramount. His portrait of Lily Tomlin for Time magazine is in the permanent collection of the Smithsonian Institute. David Byrd is probably best known for his posters for such plays as Follies, The Magic Show, and Godspell. He did the poster for the Day of the Locust and has recently turned his efforts to designing covers for TV Guide. Byrd and Amsel, who are friends, have each done many album covers and have both received the coveted Grammy Award. Emerald City joins them tonight at David Byrd's studio. You've been looking at the artwork of Richard Amsel and David Byrd. This is Mr. Richard Amsel. Now tell me, Richard, when that phone rings and there's an art director at the other end of the line and he says, I have a film I want you to work on, what do you do? How do you get it from the film, the stills, whatever it is he wants you to work on, to the final result?
Well, it's a kind of complicated procedure. Why don't we go and visit David, who I think is finishing up a piece right now in his studio.
Oh, all right.
I think it would explain it to the audience.
Let's go see. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. David Byrd. How are you?
Oh, hi.
It's nice to see you so busy at work in your studio. Isn't that lovely? Look at that.
Oh,
It's beautiful.
Quite attractive, David.
Maybe our viewers at home would like to see this lovely work of art.
Really?
And our studio audience.
Oh, the
Why don't you show
viewers.
it to them?
Oh, okay.
Bravo, David, bravo. That's lovely.
Another
thank
tour de
you.
force.
Right.
Oh, thanks.
David, when you were working on this, what did you use as an inspiration? What was your...
Oh, for inspiration, well, you know, sometimes people use photographs, sometimes people use their imagination, but in this case I used my favorite model, Illustrania, the muse of commercial art.
Oh, that's
Right.
Yes.
And here
that's
she
lovely.
is. Yes, she is one of the loveliest
Yes,
ladies
I
of
see
all
that.
time.
That's wonderful.
Right.
This isn't really how we do illustration, is it? Let's get serious for a minute.
It
Talk to
isn't?
these two men.
Okay.
We've been looking at the artwork of Mr. Richard Amsel and Mr. David Byrd. Now we'd like to talk to them for a few minutes. I'd like to establish first that they have two separate careers. Even though they're friends, they don't work together, and they have two different livelihoods here. I'd like to ask you first, when you create things, what influences you? I mean, you influence a lot of people with your work, but what influences you? How do you get it in your mind?
Well, I think it depends on the subject matter of the illustration.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's kind of different. If it's a period piece, I try to do research on it. If it's a personality, I like to know something about that personality.
Mm-hmm. What about you, David?
Yeah, well, research is I spend probably most of my time researching I completely surround myself with everything I can think of that might, you know, a piece of rag might do it, you know, or something I found in the street.
When you did the Follies poster, what did you surround yourself with?
Oh, lots of pictures of Marlene Dietrich,
Oh.
you know.
They're easy to find.
Right.
What is your greatest influence, Don? What would you say influenced your career? I mean, when you decided on illustration, what made you, what are your influences?
Well, what was yours?
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Well, first of all, I like movies a lot, and I think that the movies have influenced my work. I do a lot of movie posters, I guess.
Yeah, we know that.
I like the work of Disney. The early work of Disney, I think, has influenced me a lot. Again, just many things, and it depends on what I'm doing.
Well, I was a painter, so I didn't really plan to be an illustrator, but when it happened by mistake, I had to roll with it. So, right. So actually, what did you ask me?
That's not important anymore.
Right.
What do you think you're best known for? Oh,
Is this
Richard.
for me
Yeah,
again?
this is for you.
Well, it's really hard to say, but I would think that some of the work I've done for Bette Midler,
Probably.
I would say TV guide covers. I get a lot of people writing to me about those, and I assume that because a lot of people see them, that
There's a lot
I'm
of
well known for
visibility,
that.
yeah.
Exactly. But I don't have as much contact with people as I probably should, and so it's hard for me to really know what registers
Right.
with them and what doesn't.
Well, you work from photographs for the most part, don't you? Or
For the most part, yes,
They
but I
send
mean,
you-
it depends. There are cases where I know the people, and of course, I think that
It's
helps
easier.
in doing the art.
It's good. David,
Oh, what, you want to know what?
I'd like to know, I'd like to know what inspires you.
what
Is this exciting for you, what you do? Do you enjoy this a lot?
Oh, yeah, I really love it. I really like it a lot. Everything inspires me. I believe that an artist can't lock himself in a studio. You know, you have to like expose yourself to every possible form of life. And since I like entertainment, and I like stars, and I like I like cheap, trashy things as well as real.
Speaking of cheap and trashy, you both have a special quality. I mean, your work is not similar, but I mean, you have a similar style in some cases.
Well, I think we're both theatrically oriented.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's unlike other illustrators who are line and pencil. Like, it's more of a
we don't usually
thing.
do covers of nursing journals.
No, this
right. I mean, our work is in, well, I would say in the field of show business, which of course is a, you're dealing a lot with unreality.
Oh, that's always true.
Yeah, I do a lot of tampon ads, but people don't know that. For that, I'm most known for theater.
Well, those are the money jobs, Dave.
Yeah, the big, right. Contraceptives.
I mean, the big money is not in TV Guide.
Oh,
right?
no, that's
but
glamour.
the visibility's in TV Guide.
Glamour, yeah.
Right.
Do you think that this could parlay into other fields? Do you want to do other things? I know the answer to this. That's why I asked you.
Oh, sure.
What do you feel that this is qualified for?
Well, I can't really speak for David, but I mean, I would like to get into doing film, either live action animation, just things that lie outside of the realm of illustration. But I think that one of the problems is that you're cubbyhole. People think of you as being doing one sort of thing.
An artist,
exactly.
right? And you can't.
If you draw, then obviously you can't make a film. You can't do other things. And so I'd like to kind of break down those barriers, because I think both of us are obviously capable of that.
Of course.
I'd like to do anything in the world of entertainment, because I love the theatrical,
I've seen your act,
flash. Right.
It's
cheap.
Yes, it is cheap.
Right. But fun. Anything that, I think that the problem with being an illustrator is people just think that all you can do and all you want to do is draw.
Right.
Which is not the case
All right, we've got some conceptual drawings that you've done. We have, Richard recently has done Death on the Nile for Paramount. That's his most recent published thing. And why don't you tell us how that progressed?
Well, with that specific job, I started out with thumbnail sketches, and I think we'll be able to see some of those. And then I progressed, and I did a very detailed study for the piece, which then later I rejected in favor of another idea.
Right.
Again, I sketched that out. I talked to the art director about it, and finally ended up doing the finished piece
Which
of
is
art.
what we see.
And so, I ended up feeling like I was doing it 50 times to get to the finished piece.
And you've done the same thing, of course.
Yeah, well, oftentimes when you start, for instance, when I did do the Follies poster, the image which is the Follies poster now was an afterthought.
Oh,
it was not the original design, which had been accepted by Hal Prince. It just came to me one night after I was working on the Follies poster, and I just dashed it off.
I think that can happen a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes your best ideas can come in,
Yeah.
in a
Just
second
overnight.
after you've worked for something in 3 weeks and rejected a lot of
It does
material.
take. It's not an overnight thing. I mean, you
Definitely
don't. You have a lot of work that goes into this. It's not a. You just don't sit down and draw.
No, I mean, these
For people that
projects
don't know.
I would say with some of my movie work that it can literally be, a month, 6 weeks of really working at it.
Yeah, lightning very rarely strikes.
But sometimes it does. I mean, sometimes you can do a piece overnight that is just terrific. But of course, there's no guarantee.
That's the exception.
Yeah, and
rather
that
than
really
the
is
rule.
the exception.
Yeah. Mostly it's very, it's very hard work.
Oh, of course. But the bucks are good, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, the bucks are great.
Right.
That's
and you
all we
get to
need.
wear a lot of jewelry.
Okay, tonight we've had as our guests Mr. Richard Amsel and Mr. David Byrd, noted illustrators in their field, of course. So hope you've enjoyed our show. See you next week on Emerald City. This has been Dory Hanaway. Good night.
A love story as poignant as any ever written. Dancer from the Dance. The image of Malone will haunt you as long as you can feel love. His idealistic search for a true romantic love with another man will make you search your own life and soul, whomever you love. Christopher Street calls it the gay novel of the year. Johnny Green hailed it as an astonishingly beautiful new book. Whomever you love, Read Dancer from the Dance from William Morrow.
Once again from Reno Sweeney, the incredible Barbara Cook.
Long ago, far away, life was clear. Close your eyes. Remember, is a place from long ago like an old cliche, but it doesn't matter, for I love you anyway. Come in from the
If you like the island, you'll love the village, Roxbury Run Village near Woodstock, New York. It's a Fire Island sort of ambiance with privacy only hundreds of acres can provide. Your townhouse has an oversized scenic deck, a fireplace of native stone, wood-beam cathedral ceilings, a kitchen built for party givers. Roxbury Run Village, where you can enjoy your summer freedoms all year long. 80% mortgages for financially qualified buyers. Call 914-357-6408. If you like the island, you'll love the village.
You know, after a hard day of filming an interview, it's nice to just relax in a hot tub. Ooh. Oh, thank you. Hope you enjoyed our show tonight. Good night from Emerald City. Not bad.
Special thanks this evening to David Bass, Michael Mentone, and Walter Kent. This tape was edited by John Snell at Vertical Interval Limited in New York. Good night.